going
Yeah,
on
yeah.
with
So this
this.
is cool. Marquez Brownlee, YouTuber guy, fantastic videos, very popular. He did this some kind of secret tour of the
Of
Apple
course he
product
did, dude.
durability testing labs.
Of course he
And
did.
it, of course he's got access, man. He's
I
like
know, man. He's got so much access at Apple. They would never let anyone else do this. No way.
I, so he went in and looked at some of the things they use to test for water what water ingress, that's what they call it.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome, really. This is one of those. I was thinking about this. It's like, wow, this seems like Apple is so amazing with their ability to do this stuff. But I think a lot of companies do this, but Apple's just finally gotten hip to like, oh, we show people a little bit of this stuff. It's kind of like what they used to do when Johnny Ive would come on and explain, orology or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they just show you some of the work that they do, and it's like it's fascinating. It's like that video from the production of the Vision Pro, which was just gorgeous to watch. So anyway, what they did is so he goes in and like the video. I don't know if you could show people this,
I'm
but
showing it.
the video of like the way that they test for water. It's got like a sprinkler, almost looks like some super high tech version of a lawn sprinkler that you might have had in the '70s or whatever.
And then it cuts
Uh,
to another shot, and it's like a literal fire hose, like shooting water like 50 feet across at a poor little iPhone on the opposite wall.
yeah,
That one made me laugh.
Oh, that one
and
just came up.
he had another one where they put it like underwater, under pressure, to see how much it can take. And one of the things that, in addition to these robots and things the tests that they were showing off, he talked with John Ternus, Apple's hardware chief, and he was talking about the whole like repairability versus durability thing. And one of the things he was talking about was how, like, back in the old days, you get an iPhone, you spill your drink on it, it's done. And they had like so much problem with inability to deal with liquids, right? And now it's people drop phones in lakes and find them 2 weeks later and they work just fine. So he was talking about the whole thing, like how Apple gets kind of dinged for things are hard to repair. He's like, well, one of the reasons they're hard to repair is because they are incredibly durable and they last a long time. Kind of got sidetracked there. So there's two other videos he had aside from the interviews and the water test. He had a robot drop test. Did you guys watch this one?
Oh yeah, this is
Yeah.
fun.
I
The
thought this was
robotic
one of the
arm
more
just like
interesting ones.
goes and picks up the phone and jerks it over to a certain angle, sets it to a certain angle, and drops it at a certain thing. And this is
It
where
looks like the
maybe
kind of robot that would like you would see on a you're just trained like when you see a robot like that, it's on a manufacturing line and it's like positioning these chips like within a micrometer. But no, this one just like throws it on the ground. It's hilarious.
flings it in a very specific way. And it looked like Apple had. I didn't hear any video in this part of that video or any audio in this part of the video, but it looked like Apple has like uh, piles of different like slate or concrete or steel or whatever, so that they could drop it on different surfaces. Is what it looked like. I'm not 100% sure that's what it was, but man, that thing was just flinging it. And the other thing that was fascinating about that is, Brownlee points out, Apple not they don't just drop it and see how it does, but they blast it with this high light, so that and they film it in slow motion so they can watch all this stuff happen in slow motion and see exactly what happened and exactly what went wrong or what worked. Um, and then the craziest one I thought was the shaker test. Did you guys see that one?
I got it playing right now. I didn't see this one.
So this is strapping an iPhone or an Vision Pro, right? There's a Vision Pro on there.
Yep.
They put it on this shaking table and they shake it at certain frequencies or whatever. So the video, like Brownlee points out, the video is maybe not that amazing or whatever. It just looks like you got the jitters, right? But he said that they can, for instance, set that thing so that it vibrates like the exact way that a specific motorcycle would vibrate when
Wow.
you're driving down the road on it. So, I mean, like I said, my first thought was, oh, maybe Apple's not doing that much different. Maybe they're doing the stuff that everybody does. But it also sounds like they're kind of taking it like to the next level. I mean, some of this stuff, that's crazy. Oh, I want it to vibrate like a 1986 Sportster. That's nuts.
One of the details they said is that in testing before an iPhone is released, they make up to 10,000 or more devices that they just used to go through these tests, which is crazy. Like an order of magnitude higher than I thought they would.
I mean,
Yeah.
that is bonkers. I mean, if you just do the math on that, I mean, what does an iPhone cost them? Let's just say $500. They're going to spend $5 million just destroying devices. You know, I actually thought the part with John Ternus talking about why they glue things together and why they're difficult to repair yourself. That was kind of the first time I'd heard Apple speak out about this. And I was like, you know what, man? Yeah. Like the reason that they're hard to repair yourself is because they have to go through all these crazy steps to make them so waterproof and so durable and so reliable. And there is this vocal minority of people, and no shade towards those people that want to fix things themselves. Most of us don't. Most of us want our device just to be reliable.
To not break in the first place.
To not break in the first place. Exactly. And I don't like, would it be nice to be able to swap out the iPhone's battery on my own? Yes. I think that would actually be a convenient thing to do. Aside from that, though, I don't really care to do any of those repairs myself, and I think most people, 99.578% of people, do not care to do those things themselves, and they would make the trade-off to have their phone be resistant to damage, to be waterproof in extreme conditions every single time. And this is the first time I've really heard Apple talk about why the phones are glued together and they're difficult to repair. Like, I've never heard that articulated anywhere. And they've just let people keep implying that Apple does it because they don't want to let you repair things, and that narrative has just remained, and no one has said anything to contradict that. But John Ternus, for the first time, actually gave us a reason why these things are difficult to repair, and I feel like they need to do a better job getting that message out there. Or maybe it doesn't matter because most people don't care. But I was like, yeah, so there actually is a good reason that they glue stuff together. I never really thought about that before.
Remember like 10 years ago how you would always have like that, you 10 years ago in 2014, you had like a few people you knew who still had an iPhone 4 and like half of the buttons were broken.
Yes.
You know, like the home button's broken, all those things. And then like you see the one person who has like the accessibility feature with like the on-screen home button that they tap instead of like actually clicking it because like, oh, it doesn't work. Oh, the power button doesn't work. So I just, wait for it to turn off it by itself.
I forgot about that.
Me
but
too.
That rings a bell.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you would see those issues with phones all the time where the speaker would just stop working, right? And all of a sudden, like your phone was fine, but there'd be one annoying little issue like that, and then you would have to decide whether or not you wanted to get a whole new phone. So if you haven't watched this thread, just go through and check it out. I'll put a link to the show notes because for some of you may not use the all-new X, and that's fine, but you can go and view it either on Cult of Mac or on X and watch all the videos. It actually really is interesting, and there's a bunch of videos here that he posted on how the iPhones are tested and why they do some of the things that they do. And, Apple being one of the most valuable companies in the world, maybe not the top anymore, and soon to be unseated, it is interesting to see what their testing methodology is and like what kind of equipment they're using, because they have unlimited resources to do these kinds of things, and no one's probably doing them as well as Apple is. And so it's interesting just to see how they do it.
The other thing I thought was weird about that was like that room didn't look especially fancy. It almost looked like, a little torture chamber, like you might see in Russia or something. It was remarkably un-Apple-y looking, that thing. I wonder where, I don't know if you ever mentioned where these were. Are these in Cupertino or?
I'm not
Probably
sure.
An undisclosed
It's
location. They asked him not
undisclosed,
to
right.
reveal.
But my sources tell me this is the same room you end up in if you leak too many Apple secrets and TC gets a hold of you.
He puts you on the shaker
that
table.
water cannon at the same time.
There's a few journalists who've seen this water cannon with Tim Cook at the opposite end, All right. What do we got next?
I do find this stuff fascinating.
I do too.
And the whole sort of manufacturing aspect of this stuff. I mean, if you think about what you're carrying around in your hands or strapping onto your face or, tossing in your backpack, it's really kind of incredible the way that this stuff is constructed. And I mean, that goes to anything, I suppose, in the modern world, but Apple seems to do a very, very good job at it. And I'm glad they're actually showing a little bit of behind the scenes stuff about what it takes to produce such a device,
Plus putting Ternus front and center, getting him ready.